Commissioner Lee,
Here.
Commissioner Barajas,
Here.
Commissioner Schubert,
Here.
Commissioner Hawking,
Here.
Mayor Romero, Chair.
Here. Alrighty, we move on to item 2.
Public hearing and approval of significant amendment to the 2026 PHA annual plan and the 2025 through 2029 PHA 5-year plan.
City Manager PHA Communication number 13 dated August 18th is received into and made part of the record. This is the time and place legally advertised for a public hearing to approve from the Board of Commissioners to amend the PHA annual plan and PHA 5-year plan to formally indicate the PHA's intent to non-competitively select eligible PHA-owned units within the El Portal housing portfolio for the issuance of project-based vouchers under the Housing Choice Voucher Program, consistent with HUD regulations. This public hearing is scheduled to last for no more than 1 hour. Speakers are limited to 5-minute presentation. Madam Clerk, do we have any requests to speak?
No, we do not.
Alrighty, I do know that Jason Thorpe has a couple of a presentation.
Not a presentation, Chair Romero, a simple update and request in the vote for a modification to the resolution. And so I apologize for the surprise nature of that. In our public engagement process for this plan amendment, we included allowance for allocation non-competitively to any PHA-owned unit. In our memo to you, we spoke specifically about El Portal units, the city's affordable housing portfolio. Our actual public engagement process related to this and the HUD process allows for us to include other units outside of El Portal in the same process. And so we'd like to include sort of maximum flexibility, including units that may be operated by our nonprofit subsidiary, El Pueblo Housing Development. There is no change to the plan amendments that were proposed, but there is a modification to the resolution specifically in the preamble that Mr. Lusk can read into the record. Before that, I did want to let you know, however, that through public engagement, 37 current Public Housing Authority residents participated in consultation on this process and were overwhelmingly supportive of this proposal. And the voucher holders in particular continue to speak to the challenges that they're experiencing renting in the market and saw the project basing of units in city-owned property as an opportunity for folks to have easier access to affordable housing. With that, I'll give it to Mr. Lusk to read the preamble change into the record.
Madam Mayor, members of the board, the language is related to the whereas clauses, whereas related to the adoption of the policy, and the policy would change from, to allow non-competitive allocation of project-based vouchers for units owned by the PHA and its subsidiary nonprofit El Pueblo Housing Development, instead of relating to El Portal.
Thank you so much. Anything in addition?
That is it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So if we do not have any requests to speak, is there anyone in the audience wishing to be heard on this item? All right, JP, just come up to the microphone.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. JP Salvatierra, Tucson native real estate broker. Anytime the word housing comes up, I think of home ownership, not rentals, not leasing. And this is a huge primary thing that our XYZ Gen need to support themselves through the next few decades so that they have a legacy and their children stay with us in Tucson and they don't disappear because there's nothing for them. There's some incredible housing projects that have come up through the Tucson House that has just been waiting too long, and now it's in construction, and it will be a very valued asset for the city and for public and private investment. There are so many things that we can do to help support the underserved here in Tucson. these opportunities don't have to create situations that are not taken an advantage of, and then these individuals never have that unique opportunity at that particular time in their lives to benefit from getting support income and creating a retirement and showing their children that they can own a home and live in a home as they go to school in a local neighborhood for most of their lives and feel a part of than apart from the situation when a rental situation becomes like a transient situation and people move about and they're displaced and they never lock in. So I'd like for the entire mayor and council to keep that in mind, because they're all we have, our children, and we look forward to supporting their benefit and the unique opportunities that we have here with the Industrial Development Authority and private funding, projects that may even come out from the old School for the Deaf and Blind. That's a beautiful opportunity to create a resurgence of, since it's a state property, it could be something that actually supports social programs, the 11 or 1,200 homeless parents with children that need to get a foot start, and a nice, secure environment like that might be an opportunity for that. Doesn't always have to be a new corporate entity and a new resort. We need to think on a foundation for our city. So I appreciate your time.
Thank you, JP. Anyone else wishing to be heard on this item? Seeing none, may I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved. Second.
There's a motion and a second to close the public hearing. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
against? Motion carries. The public hearing is closed. Madam Clerk, you are requested to read Resolution PHA 2026-56 by number and title only.
Resolution number PHA 2026-56 relating to public housing, approval and adoption by the Board of Commissioners of the City of Tucson Public Housing Authority's updates to the 2026 Public Housing Authority Annual Plan and the 2025 through 2029 Public Housing Authority 5-Year Plan and declaring an emergency.
What is the board's pleasure?
Mayor, I move to pass and adopt PHA 2026-56
With the amendments?
with the amendments.
Second?
There is a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this motion? Alrighty, hearing none, let's go to roll call.
Commissioner Barajas,
Aye.
Commissioner Dahl,
Aye.
Commissioner Cunningham,
Aye.
Commissioner Schubert,
Aye.
Commissioner Hawking,
Aye.
Commissioner Lee,
Aye.
Commissioner Santa Cruz,
Aye.
Chair Romero.
Aye. Resolution PHA 2026-56 passes by a vote of 8-0. Item 3.
Public Housing Authority write-off uncollectible tenant account receivable approval.
City Manager's PHA Communication Number 14 dated August 18th is received into and made part of the record. Madam Clerk, you are requested to read Resolution PHA 2026-57 by number and title only.
Resolution number PHA 2026-57 relating to Public Housing Authority authorizing the write-off of $42,807.70 of certain uncollectible tenant accounts receivable and declaring an emergency.
What is the board's pleasure?
Mayor, I move to pass and adopt PHA 2026-57.
Second?
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, let's go to roll call.
Commissioner Lee,
Aye.
Commissioner Cunningham,
Aye.
Commissioner Dahl,
Aye.
Commissioner Barajas,
Aye.
Commissioner Schubert,
Aye.
Commissioner Santa Cruz,
Aye.
Commissioner Hawkins,
Aye.
Chair Romero.
Aye. The motion to approve Resolution PHA 2026-57 passes by a vote of 8-0. Item 4.
Approval of minutes.
City Manager's PHA Communication Number 15 dated August 18th is received into and made part of the record. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the February 18th, 2026 meeting?
So moved, Your Honor.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any against? Motion carries. Item 5.
Adjournment.
The meeting of the Board of Commissioners is adjourned. The mayor and council will now convene our regular meeting. Please be patient and give us about 2 minutes. Thank you. Council will stand in session. Let's go to roll call.
Councilmember Cunningham?
Here.
Councilmember Dahl?
Here.
Councilwoman Lee?
Here.
Councilmember Barajas?
Here.
Councilmember Schubert?
Here.
Vice Mayor Santa Cruz?
Here.
Mayor Romero?
Here. Before we go to item 2, the city attorney will go over the rules of decorum for mayor and council meetings. Mr. Attorney.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor. Arizona's open meeting laws provide that members of the public may attend and listen to the proceedings during tonight's public meeting of the mayor and council. Arizona law also allows the mayor and council to enforce rules and procedures for public attendance of the meeting to ensure orderly behavior and to prevent unnecessary interference with the public meeting. Here are the rules that apply. The rules require decorum and orderly conduct by the members of the audience. No person attending the meeting shall engage in conduct that disrupts or otherwise impedes the orderly conduct of the meeting, including any statements or conduct that interrupts the persons who might be addressing the mayor and council or that disrupts the discussions of the mayor and council. The mayor has the authority to ensure compliance with the rules of orderly conduct. If disorderly or disruptive conduct continues after a warning, and this is that first warning, the mayor may direct the removal of persons from the chambers and/or recess the meeting itself. If disruptive behavior makes it necessary to clear the chambers, the persons who disrupted the meeting will not be allowed to return to the chambers for the remainder of tonight's meeting. As a final note, please be aware that interfering with or preventing this lawful public meeting from being carried out in an orderly manner not only violates the rules of participation, but also violates Title 13 of the Arizona Revised Statutes.
Item 2.
Invocation, Pledge of Allegiance, and appointment to boards, committees, and commissions.
We will start with the land acknowledgement. Let us begin by grounding ourselves and acknowledging these lands. The city of Tucson is on the lands that have been stewarded by the Tohono O'odham since time immemorial and the Pasquayaqui people who have lived in the Sonoran Desert for thousands of years. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you so much. Today, I have the honor and pleasure to have two presentations. Our first presentation would be to Amistades. They are celebrating their 20th anniversary, and we're gonna gather up there. I know that we have Claudia Jasso, President and CEO of Amistades, and Uciel Barrios, Director of Strategic Development, and Isabel Boisvert. Congratulations to Amistades for 20 years of providing vital services and strengthening our community. Our second presentation will be for supporting and recognizing the American Federation of Musicians, Local 33. And we're going to have Sarah Bromberg, Ellen Ansi, Alana Wazing, and members of the Tucson Federation of Musicians, Local 33, American Federations of Musicians. The first one we'll do is Amistades, and so we'll meet up there. Please join me up here. Anyone that would want to come up and receive the proclamation. Here you go. Congratulations on 20 years. That's pretty amazing. Such an important organization that delivers so many quality services to our community. On behalf of the City of Tucson and the Office of the Mayor, I'd like to recognize the 20th anniversary of Amistades. And whereas Amistades will celebrate its 20th anniversary on August 20th, 2026, and whereas Amistades was founded in 2006 with a commitment to advancing racial equity and strengthening Southern Arizona through culturally responsive programs, community empowerment, and to advance an advocacy that uplifts the voices and lived experiences of historically underserved communities in Tucson and the greater area. And whereas Amistades prioritizes addressing immediate issues and leads efforts that eliminate false narratives about Latinos and has developed system-focused strategies that change the conditions that perpetuate inequities. And whereas 20 years ago, Amistades began with one program in one neighborhood in Tucson, built on the idea that culture is not only something to preserve, but a foundation for healing, belonging, and what a community can become. And whereas since then, Amistades has grown into a collaborative network that reaches across Arizona: health promotion, workforce development, civic engagement, higher education, behavioral health services, community research, youth empowerment, climate action, and so on and so on and so on. Each one built because a community asked for it. And whereas 20 years have established deep roots of trust, partnership, and community leadership. As Amistades looks to the future, those roots will continue to sustain innovation, inspire collaboration, and strengthen communities across Southern Arizona for generations to come. Now, therefore, I, Regina Romero, Mayor of the City of Tucson, along with the members of the Tucson City Council, am delighted to recognize and celebrate the 20th anniversary of Amistades. We offer our heartfelt congratulations and deepest appreciation for all of your contributions to our city, and we look forward to many more inspiring years. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the city of Tucson, Arizona to be affixed this 18th day of August, 2026. Congratulations. You wanna say something? I'm sorry, I put her on the spot.
Okay,
All right.
that's fine. Mayor Romero, thank you. Council members, thank you. Amistades started 20 years ago with a very bold dream and a lot of talent. And we have centered community voice in all of the work we've done over the last 2 decades. We stand strong and ready for the next 20 years. And we've done it, undoubtedly, we've done it with the support of this community, many of you in the room today, and with a lot of hard work. So thank you very much.
Can we get a picture with you guys all together? Beautiful, thank you. Thank you so much, thank you.
Last but not least, I'd like to welcome any of the members of the Tucson Federation of Musicians, Local 33. I believe we have Sarah Bromberg, Ellen Ency, Alana Weissing, and other members of Tucson Federation of Musicians, Local 33, American Federation of Musicians. Hi, how are you? Good to see you. Good to see you. Thank you so much. I am so happy to be here. So we have 2 extras, if you'd like to take one. And then Liz, there you go. If you want to join her over here. Alrighty. So, is Marta Reyes with Jobs with Justice here? I don't know if she was going to be here. Okay. Whereas the city of Tucson recognizes the need to strategically create community wealth by addressing generational poverty and improving job opportunity through the availability and retention of local stable jobs that will economically support a household. And whereas we recognize the role of organized labor in securing self-sustaining wages and benefits for workers. And whereas we further recognize the role of organized labor in guaranteeing safe working conditions and workplaces, and whereas workers represented by unions on average earn higher wages and receive more comprehensive benefits, including healthcare and retirement, that non-union workers. And whereas the city of Tucson recognizes the fundamental human right of all workers to join a union and to collectively bargain as a cornerstone of democracy. And whereas Martin Luther King Jr. recognized the importance of labor movement and the critical importance of collective bargainings for the strength of the nation, stating, "Everyone knows that the labor movement did not diminish the strength of the nation, but enlarged it." And whereas the American Federation of Musicians, Local 33, has been engaged in a multi-year effort to secure union recognition and good faith bargaining with True Concord Voices and Orchestra, and has received an order of election from the National Labor Relations Board. And whereas a strong majority of True Concord musicians, upon whose talent and labor the organization is built, have voted to unionize. And whereas the orchestral musicians of True Concord seek reasonable industry standard working conditions, including fair hiring practices, appropriate compensation and royalties, stable scheduling, and adequate hearing protection. And whereas the city of Tucson recognizes that its community is rich in culture, art, and music, that it must support the artists and musicians whose work sustain and enhance Tucson and Southern Arizona's reputation as a premier cultural designation. Now, therefore, be it resolved The City of Tucson stands in solidarity with the orchestral musicians of the American Federation of Musicians, Local 33, and urges True Concord Voices and Orchestra to respect the results of the union election and to engage in good faith collective bargaining. And be it further resolved that the City of Tucson affirms its support for all unorganized workers and upholds the democratic and human right of all workers to collectively bargain the terms and conditions of their employment. And be it further resolved, the City of Tucson recognizes that organizing the unorganized is essential to creating and sustaining stable local jobs that support households, strengthen the local economy, and contribute to long-term community prosperity. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set the seal of the City of Tucson this 18th day of August, 2026. Congratulations. Thank you all so much.
I will make this brief, but first I just want to say thank you to our honorable mayor and council. Thank you to all present for witnessing this special moment for us. One update, we did win our election with 84% of voters voting yes. I'm very happy about that. One thing to know about organized labor is that when a workplace is newly unionized, only about half of those workplaces are able to achieve a collective bargaining agreement within a year of being certified by the National Labor Relations Board. And so this really matters to us. When our community is loud for us, it really helps us bring the employer to the table and make sure that we can get the fair conditions and respect also the rights and the needs of the employer as well to make sure it's fair for everybody involved. So thank you.
I would love to. Hi, everybody. Thank you, Mayor Romero, Vice Mayor, and members of the council for having us here today. My name is Alana Wiesing. I live here in the city of Tucson. I'm proud to serve as the president of the Tucson Federation of Musicians, the American Federation of Musicians, Local 33, and I'm not a retained speaker. On behalf of our local and the musicians of the True Concord Orchestra, I want to express our deepest and most heartfelt gratitude for this proclamation and for your unwavering support. This proclamation is about far more than one orchestra or one organizing campaign. It recognizes that musicians are workers, that the arts are an essential part of Tucson's identity, and that every worker deserves dignity, fairness, and the fundamental right to organize and collectively bargain. It also affirms Tucson's longstanding commitment to organized labor and to supporting the artists whose work enriches our community. Those values are deeply meaningful to us, and we're sincerely honored that you've chosen to recognize them today. Sarah had just mentioned that since this proclamation was drafted, we had won our election, which is huge, and that decision represents another important step toward ensuring that our professional musicians in Tucson are treated with the fairness and respect that they deserve. Throughout this journey, we've been inspired by the incredible solidarity shown by our community, our fellow unions, and by each of you. Your willingness to stand with Tucson's musicians has reminded us that this city believes in both artistic excellence and economic justice. So thank you for recognizing the indispensable contributions musicians make to the cultural, educational, and economic life of Tucson. Thank you for standing up for the rights of working people. And thank you for helping to make Tucson a city where the arts and the people who create them can flourish. We're profoundly grateful for your leadership, your partnership, and this tremendous honor. Thank you so much.
Oh, beautiful. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much.
All righty, city manager's communication. This is 2D? Yes. All right, item 2D.
Appointments to boards, committees, and commissions.
City Manager's Communication Number 233 dated August 18th is received into and made part of the record. May I have a motion to approve the appointments of the agenda?
So moved, Your Honor. Second.
There is a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any against? Motion carries. Alrighty, so I'd like to thank those willing to serve the city of Tucson in this capacity as volunteer appointees to our boards, committees, and commissions. Are there any personal appointments to be made at this time? I don't see any. Item 3.
Mayor and council report, summary of current events.
City Manager's Communication Number 235 dated August 18th is received into and made part of the record. This time has been scheduled to allow members of the mayor and council to report on current events. These are to be current events of activities within the community, not position statements on policy issues. Does any council member have anything to report at this time? I see some yeses. Alrighty, let's start with Councilmember Schubert and then go down the dais.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council, and to everybody who's taken the time to attend the meeting tonight. I'm going to open my current event report with a traffic violence update. I am giving these every time I give a current event update in order to keep it at the forefront of our minds as we continue to work on solutions, and just keeping on top of what the trends are and what's happening in our communities. On August 5th, very early in the morning, like around 4:30 a.m., a pedestrian was pronounced dead at the scene after a collision. Later that evening, around 11:30 p.m., a car crash left one pedestrian dead and another one in the hospital with life-threatening injuries. That was both on August 5th. On August 8th, there was a crash involving 2 vehicles. One driver had minor injuries and the other went to the hospital with serious, but at the time, non-life-threatening injuries. But on August 13th, TPD was notified that that driver who had gone to the hospital had passed away from her injuries. On August 17th, and this was just confirmed very early this morning, there was a fatality after a 2-vehicle crash in Midtown. And pedestrian deaths are double what they were this time last year. So we're at 22 so far compared to 11 this time last year. In more optimistic and current events, 2 new stamps were released this week as part of our Summer Stampede program. The Ward 6 office has been running, it's like a scavenger hunt with stamps at different locations, and then you have a little passport book where you can put your stamps. We added 2 new stamps at Randolph Skate Park and the Loft Cinema. You don't have to buy anything. These are both publicly accessible. Also, a lot of people didn't know there was a Randolph Skate Park, so keep in mind that these stamps are not just for your collection, but they can also increase your raffle options during our Summer Stampede celebration, which is scheduled for Saturday, September 26th at the Ward 6 office. We'd love to see you there. You have until September 20th to collect stamps in your passport, and then join us the following weekend to celebrate with a party, prizes, and ice cream. RSVP link for the event will continue to be shared in our newsletter that comes out every Friday. Please sign up for that if you aren't already. We put a lot of information in it. And be sure to collect as many stamps as you can before the deadline. And then my final note, just want to welcome back to the tracks Sunlink Streetcar 105, which has been out of commission for a year, back in service officially today. Very exciting. This is going to improve frequency for the Sunlink. So excellent news. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilmember Barajas.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, last Saturday, I had the privilege of attending the 2nd annual MDOT Volunteer Appreciation Luncheon at El Pueblo Center. And there were so many volunteers and staff, and I would like to thank you all for being kind to our neighbors and all the work that you're doing. If you would like to volunteer, please reach out to the multidisciplinary outreach team, MDOT, or our office. I would like to thank all of our neighbors and community members who took the time to attend last week's community meetings on the Safe City Connect Transit meetings. Our office in Ward 1 had a meeting at the El Pueblo Activity Center last Monday. I truly appreciate everybody's time, the fact that you all are listening, asking questions, and willingness to share your thoughts and experiences. Your engagement is important, and it helps us better understand the needs and priorities of our community. Next Wednesday, August 26th at 5:30 p.m., I invite you all to join us alongside Suntran to learn more about the public transportation services available in our community and how you can stay connected. This will be a great opportunity to learn about how to ride the bus, what services are available, to ask questions, and to better understand the resources available to get us around town. And that will be at our office, 4300 South Park Avenue. Our office has been very busy preparing for the reopening of Santa Rita Park, and I'm excited to share that we now have some dates of our ribbon cutting. So if you're around town, I would love to invite you all on Friday, October 2nd for the ribbon cutting ceremony. There's going to be activities starting at 5 p.m. So bring your lawn chairs, splash pad gear, skateboards. Come enjoy these special events with our family, friends, and neighbors. And I look forward to seeing you all at Santa Rita Park. The fun continues with our Movies in the Park series. I'm excited to announce that we will have 3 evenings for movies, family fun, and time under the stars. Starting Saturday, September 19th, at Silver Lake Park, we're going to be showing GOAT. Saturday, October 3rd, the next day after we cut the ribbon at Santa Rita Park, the Super Mario Galaxy movie. And Saturday, October 24th at Gunny Barreras Memorial Park, we're going to be showing Coco. So more details to come. Activities begin at 6 p.m. for the movies. So come with, again, your lawn chairs, blanket, and some good times. I also want to provide my condolences to the family, friends, and loved ones of Julissa Julie Salazar, 19-year-old U of A student who was found dead last week by police, who was killed by her boyfriend due to domestic violence. I pray for healing in our community and more accountability. Lastly, I want to take a moment to wish a very happy birthday to my chief of staff, Manisha Bucha, who I don't know if she's in the room. Today, Manisha, stand up. Today is her birthday. And she is spending her birthday with you all. So let's make sure that we wish her a happy birthday. I'm so fortunate to have you, Manisha, by my side as our chief of staff, and grateful for all the work you do in our office and in our community. And I would like to wish a very early birthday to our family and civic engagement advisor, Elma Alvarez, who's probably watching on YouTube right now. I wish you a happy early birthday, Elma, August 26th. Elma brings so much heart, dedication, and energy to our team. And with that, I just thank you all for your continued involvement, partnership, and commitment to our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilman Lee?
No announcements, Mayor.
Councilmember Ridal?
No announcements, Mayor.
Councilmember Cunningham?
Just a couple. First of all, Maestro Laszlo Veras has announced another series of concerts at Udall Park with the Arizona Symphonic Winds. The Symphonic Winds were established in 1986 as an all-volunteer community concert band, performing a variety of music for all ages, including overtures like classics, marches, Broadway show tunes, and even popular music. Laszlo was the longtime conductor and band director at Tucson High School. He retired several years ago and has become full-time in this effort. As a matter of fact, the amphitheater at Udall Park is named after Laszlo Veras. Its Music in the Park series resumes September 12th, 2026 at the Laszlo Veras Amphitheater near the north end of Udall Park. Concerts begin at 7 p.m. Bring lawn chairs, blankets, picnic baskets, and enjoy a great evening of entertainment for the whole family. All concerts are free to the public. Also want a big shout out to the Friends of Fort Lowell. Want to thank them for their work event on August 8th. Volunteers cleaned up debris out of the pond, fence repair, trash pickup, refilling dispensers, and of course, photographing the wildlife in that part of the park where wildlife flourishes. Thank you to Larry, Kirby, Sarah, Sandy, Stewart, Tom, Carol, and Red Flower for keeping Fort Lowell Park beautiful. A lot of good things going on at Fort Lowell. We have 2 different projects going on. And thanks to the efforts of City Parks, the pool remained open all summer. So thank you.
Vice Mayor?
All right, Mayor, thank you. I got a couple of things. I wanted to start off with our Back to School Transit Safety Initiative. I know you spoke about it earlier during our study session, but the first 2 weeks of school, we launched our inaugural Back to School Transit Safety Initiative. I had the opportunities to spend several mornings at the Ronstadt Transit Center connecting with students and the Suntrans staff, and had the opportunity to ride the bus with students on their way to Cholla High School. We got to hear directly from students and operators about how they navigate transit, and their experiences on the bus was the highlight of my week. This effort grew out of a July memo that Mayor Romero and myself submitted asking staff to develop a safe rides to school initiative for the start of the school year. With about 3 days of planning, city staff mobilized more than 100 volunteers and staff from across departments to provide additional presence and support for students and families using transit. This effort is also serving as a pilot for the city's future transit ambassador program. So what we learned from this experience will help shape that moving forward. I believe that safety is something we practice every day. It's something we do with and for one another, not something that simply happens to us. Part of our role in elected office is to create opportunities or entry points for community members to participate in that work. Building a safer transit system requires all of us, city staff, operators, riders, students, families, community members playing a role, big and small. And I'm super grateful to Mayor Romero, the city manager, Tim Tamir in his office, especially Liz Morales, Randy Champion, Stephanie Zamora, Justin Hamilton, Ian Sansom, Mikhail Oglesby, John Zukas, Allison Chappell, and all the staff from the Department of Transportation and Mobility, Suntran, Housing and Community Development, and our Tucson Police Department, along with the 100 volunteers who made our back to school effort possible. And I'm looking forward to continuing this iterative work, learning from this pilot and being proactive about safety and care across our public transit system. So again, thank you to everyone. I also mentioned earlier during the study session that I had the opportunity to travel to Houston last week, and I'm grateful to Mayor Pro Tem and District K Councilmember Martha Castex Tatum for being an incredible host for the 2026 Large City Council Principals convening in Houston last week. One of the things I value most about these convenings is the opportunity to learn directly from other large cities, what they're building, how they're responding to challenges that we share, and what ideas we can bring back home to Tucson. I had the opportunity to visit the Edison Arts Foundation, where the Carter family walked us through the transformation of an abandoned, dilapidated grocery store plaza into a beautiful multi-use community space rooted in arts and family. The property now brings together affordable housing, state-of-the-art theaters, after-school and summer programming, and a food court and retail space for local small businesses all in one place. We also toured 419 Emancipation, which is Houston's new 222-bed homeless services and treatment hub. Residents can access shelter alongside medical and behavioral health care and employment services and other supports during their 30 to 90-day stay. The facility opened earlier this year and quickly filled every available bed. I also had the opportunity to travel to the Ismaili Center, one of only 7 Ismaili centers in the world and the first of its kind in the US. It was an incredible and serene space. I'm grateful for the opportunity to visit the prayer hall and learn about their work in trying to create more pluralism within our communities during these times. I want to thank the entire National League of Cities team for all the planning and labor that goes into bringing legislative leaders across the country. I'm looking forward to continuing sharing this work and working together on these challenges that our communities are facing. Moving on to events that we're having this upcoming week. Tomorrow, Wednesday, August 19th, our office will be hosting a community conversation on park and monument namings. This community plática will bring residents together to help shape a shared framework for how Tucson names and renames parks and public monuments. The conversation will focus on ensuring our public spaces reflect community values and creating a thoughtful process for responding when we learn difficult truths about the people our city has chosen to honor. This comes in response to our Cesar Chavez holiday and also public spaces named after him. If you want to participate, you can register online to receive the location. The doors open at 5 and dinner will be served between 5 and 5:30. Also tomorrow, Wednesday, August 19th, help shape the future of affordable housing ownership in Menlo Park and Dunbar Springs. We're selecting a team to design and build new homes. At this meeting, potential teams will present their early design ideas for the sites. Please join us to see the concept plans and share your feedback and inform the team selection. This will be from 5:30 to 8 p.m. at the Sentinel Building of the Housing and Community Development Campus at 320 North Commerce Park Loop. That's all, Mayor.
Thank you so much, Vice Mayor. Well, I have a little bit of a invitation for our community. I really want to challenge our residents to become master recyclers. Am often told, especially in family parties, that I am obsessive about recycling because I'm like cleaning and taking things out the trash that we can recycle. So join me in being a master recycler. The fall cohort for the 2026 Master Recycler Program. This year, we're partnering with Tucson Clean and Beautiful and the City of Tucson Environmental Services for a 4-session workshop designed to help you better understand recycling, waste reduction, waste diversion, and sustainable living, and give you the knowledge to share with others in your community. Join in on Wednesdays, September 9th, 16th, 23rd, and 30th from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. at the Thomas O. Price Service Center located at 4004 South Park Avenue. And that's my summary of current event. I hope that you all have a wonderful week. There's always things to do in Tucson, Arizona. So please pay attention to our newsletters and emails that we put out as mayor and council, and the activities that our departments within the city of Tucson share on social media and other sources. So with that, we move on to item 4.
City Manager's Report, Summary of Current Events.
City Manager's Communication number 236 dated August 18th is received into and made part of the record. This time has been scheduled to allow the city manager to report on current events. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and members of the council. Just one kudos for tonight. And this came in from a resident, Meg Johnson, from the Garden District Neighborhood Association. She wanted to be complimentary toward one of our environmental services drivers. Yesterday afternoon, an elderly resident in the 4100 block of Leicester fell and was laying in the street outside of his home in the heat. A young woman driving by noticed him on the ground and tried to help him up, but was unable to do so by herself. She flagged down our refuse truck driver, James Moore, who stopped and helped her get the resident up and basically carried him over to sit in the doorway of the home. After they got the resident to the stoop, James called a supervisor to make sure he could stay there and that he would be detained for a bit. Good job, James. But you're doing the right thing. And tried to shade the resident as he sat on the doorstep. It was a potentially deadly situation, and the resident was definitely in distress. Meg wanted to compliment him on going above the call of duty to help our community and make sure they received an acknowledgement. And so I'm sharing that here publicly with all of you to thank James for doing the right thing and probably saving a life just yesterday. Thank you, Mayor.
Item 5.
Liquor license applications.
City Manager's Communication number 237 dated August 18th is received into and made part of the record. Madam Clerk, please read the liquor license agenda.
Your Honor, on the evening's agenda, we have 2 applications for new licenses, 4 applications for a special event, and 2 applications for an agent change acquisition of control. All applications are in compliance with city requirements. An appropriate motion would be to forward items 5B1 through 2, 5C1 through 4, and 5D1 through 2 to the State Liquor Board with a recommendation of approval.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any against? Motion carries. Item 6.
Call the audience.
Madam Clerk, please read the announcement.
At this time, any member of the public is allowed to address the mayor and city council on any issue except for items scheduled for a public hearing at the meeting. Call the audience will last for 30 minutes and speakers are limited to 3-minute presentations. The green light will turn on when you're called to speak. It will turn yellow when you have 30 seconds remaining, and then will turn red and beep when your time is up. At that time, please conclude your comments.
Our first speaker will be J.D. Wallace.
Hello, Mayor and Council. My name is J.D. Wallace. I'm a Tucson resident and retained speaker on behalf of Tucson Electric Power at 8080 East Broadway downtown with an update on how TEP continues to work to remain a trusted energy provider. During the hottest days so far this summer, energy demand has yet to top last summer's record of 2,502 megawatts, which was reached on August 6, 2025, when the temperature was 111 degrees. That was a weekday. We've seen customers' energy demand reach above 2,430 megawatts. And since last summer, as I've mentioned before, we have far more battery storage and solar to help satisfy customer energy needs. Just last week, we held a ribbon cutting ceremony for our Roadrunner Reserve battery expansion that added 200 megawatts to that facility, doubling its size. The expanded facility can power 84,000 homes for 4 hours. We also have incentivized customers to help reduce demand during high peak times. Our Smart Rewards program provides a one-time enrollment incentive and a yearly incentive to customers who allow us to remotely make small temporary adjustments to their smart thermostats on high demand days. We alert them of the upcoming event, and then the event may be paired with pre-cooling their home up to 3 degrees, and then adjusting the thermostat to 4 degrees from that original setting during those times of high demand. Customers always maintain control of their service, and if the temperature is too uncomfortable, they can opt out of the event. If the Smart Rewards participation is saving energy by tens of megawatts during these peak periods from June through September, and there can be up to 20 events per season. We really want to emphasize help for your constituents who are struggling to pay their utility bills. Power AZ assistance, which is administered by the Department of Economic Security, remains available for qualifying households, but is scheduled to end on September 30th, 2026, unless funds are depleted sooner. With summer energy bills placing pressure on many families, there are only a few weeks left to encourage constituents to explore their eligibility and apply. We continue to support education through donations from corporate resources, not ratepayer funds, and through employees' volunteerism. Earlier this year, TEP donated $50,000 to Tucson Values teachers to fund Lumia, an online support platform for teachers. We also volunteered in the classroom earlier this year with Junior Achievement, and we've donated $10,000 each to 7 education foundations across the county to support classroom mini grants for teachers, and are also ready to support PEEPS, which is Pima Early Education Program scholarships, as conversations about strengthening its future continue. As always, constituents seeking assistance with their bills are encouraged to contact our customer service representatives or research a variety of options at tep.com. Thank you.
Thank you. April Putney.
Hi, Mayor and Council. I'm here to speak about the consent agenda, item 7N. I'm sure one of you will have the cojones to pull out that item. I think it deserves to be put in the public light when we're giving away our land for free to the Air Force so that Raytheon can use it. I haven't been able to find any real detailed explanation of why this is occurring or how the 1995 contract went down. I have been able to find things, news articles on the internet that say how many tax breaks we've given to Raytheon. I don't love it. Oh yeah, I mean, I guess I should mention Raytheon, who came from Hughes Aircraft, who did the TCE spill, as I'm sure all of you know, the one that ended up with a Superfund site and giving a bunch of cancer to a bunch of people on the South Side and killing the community, that Raytheon. So you have a choice to make today when somebody pulls that out of the consent agenda about how we want to live in the world and how you want to show up for your constituents. I spoke to one council member who said that probably mayor and council was afraid because they didn't want to get sued by Raytheon and they didn't want to run into any trouble. Well, I do not think that this is the time for leadership that comes from a place of fear. This is a time for leadership that comes from a place of bravery. We are facing a climate collapse in very real time in front of us that will affect the people younger than all of you a lot more than will affect you or me standing here today. The US military, which Raytheon supports, is the largest CO2 emitter. Hard to find those numbers, but the estimates exist. The U.S. military is not required to report on CO2 or other carbon emissions. I ask that you please at least study the contract that you think is forcing you to give away over 200 acres of city-owned land to the federal government during this time of austerity when we don't have any money for anything, for free, for military profiteering. You could at least have a study session about it, probably, and then from that point on, who here wants that? Who here wants us to give away our land to the Air Force so Raytheon can use it? Raytheon, yeah, Raytheon. By the way, do you remember the Iranian girls' school that got blown up? That was their missile. And we have a responsibility to each other here, not to live on the sweat and the death of other people's backs in other places.
Vida Rodríguez. Vida Rodríguez.
I want to thank Lane Santa Cruz for your words, sharing about your experience in Houston. That aligns very much with what I'm about to say. Thank you, Mayor Romero, Lane Santa Cruz, and the council. My name is Vida Rodriguez. I use he, him as pronouns, and I'm here tonight because I'm honestly tired of hearing that the solutions our communities are asking for are too much, because they are not too much. We can be innovative, and other cities already are. So I have two proposals for you all tonight. Let's start with the transgender and gender expansive community. The data is not ambiguous. In 2022, the US Transgender Survey found that 30% of gender expansive respondents had experienced homelessness in their lifetime. That's 8 times the rate of the general population. And among those who experienced homelessness, 58% were denied access to shelter because of their identity, and 27% left the shelter because of poor treatment. So when I asked Tucson to explore a dedicated shelter and resource program for transgender and expansive people, I'm not asking for some impossible luxury program. I'm responding to a documented problem. I want to acknowledge the mutual aid groups and community organizers who have been filling those gaps. I am incredibly grateful for them, but it is heartbreaking that we have to depend on mutual aid to fill systemic gaps in services for our own community. Mutual aid should be a part of a healthy community. It shouldn't have to be the thing holding the entire system together. We've already seen cities create specialized shelter models. Los Angeles, for example, has operated Casa de la Zuma, a shelter specifically serving transgender women. So why can't Tucson be innovative too? My second proposal is about how we use the resources we already have. Tucson has underutilized commercial spaces, so let's think differently. What is an abandoned mall? What if an abandoned mall became a one-stop community resource, like Lane Santa Cruz had mentioned? Seems logical, right? I'm not making this up or reinventing the wheel. In California, Riverside has a centralized homeless service campus where people can access housing, placement, employment services, benefits, healthcare, mental health services, legal assistance, transportation, and other resources all in one place. Albuquerque's Gateway Center similarly brings multiple services together under one roof. This is already being done. So why are we still making someone without a car take 3 buses across Tucson just to find out they need to go somewhere else? Why are we asking people to navigate 10 different doors when we could build one that actually opens? So then on top of just worrying about how to get there, everything closes at 5. That's not a system, that's a scavenger hunt. I want Tucson to invest in centralized resource centers where organizations collaborate instead of competing. I want paid peer support positions where people with lived expertise aren't just invited to tell their stories. We're hired, we're trained, and we're trusted to build the solutions, because we've already been doing the impossible with almost nothing. So I cannot say all of this at once. So my final statement is, I'm a young person, I'm a trans young person who overcame my homelessness, and my story didn't end when I found stability. That's where my responsibility to my community began. Thank you.
Thank you, Vida. Thank you so much. Really appreciate the ideas. And I think that we were going to appoint you to the Equitable Housing Commission. There you are. There you go. Thank you for being my appointee and serving on that commission. Amy Hartman Gordon.
Honorable Mayor and council members, My name is Amy Hartman Gordon. I am the director of the Tucson Presidio Trust, which runs two museum assets here in Tucson, the Presidio Museum right down the street. And recently, we've now been honored to also manage Port Lowell Museum. It's my understanding that when you look at your agenda tonight, you'll find that you are approving our operating contract tonight. So I figured this was an opportunity to just come in and give you all a few little updates. So first of all, I just wanted to recognize that we are about to celebrate our community's milestone anniversary date again. As you all know, last August 20th was the 250 plus celebration for Tucson, and it was a huge success. And I want to thank City Manager Tamur and Mayor and Council for all of your support and partnership in that event. After that big milestone, we really weren't sure what was going to happen next or how the community would feel. And we were quite surprised to get really overwhelming demand to keep it going. So this Thursday, August 20th, we will be celebrating the 251st plus community event. And as you all know, what's important about that is the recognition of our community and our history and our multicultural success that we've had here. I also just want to let you know that we present that as a free event to the community, and we present it as in partly sponsored by the City of Tucson. We consider that part of the work we do in terms of the operating agreement we get with you all. The second update I wanted to let you know about was the 20th anniversary of the Turquoise Trail, which was last April. And we had a really wonderful event recognizing those 20 years. Some of you may know that the two people who created that trail are close to my heart and to Councilman Cunningham's heart. Those would be our two mothers who originally created the content for the history and public art information that we now use as a downtown trail in Tucson, which is right outside this building. So we had a great time with several hundred people walking through downtown back in April with Councilman Cunningham and celebrating the 20th anniversary of the trail. Lastly, I just want to also acknowledge that we are about to start in on our second full season managing Fort Lowell. We're thrilled to be partnering with the city and with City Parks to manage Fort Lowell Museum. We're working very hard to develop the programming out there and to invest in that site. And we're also, of course, really excited to see the openings of the additional historic assets that we're expecting in the fall. So those are just three of many things happening at both of our museums. We reopen next Thursday, August 27th, after being closed for 2 months.
Thank you so much, Jamie. I appreciate it. JP Salvatierra.
Madam Mayor, Council, I come before you on a number of occasions and made an adamant request that you take the general public into consideration in creating revenue stream that recirculates within Arizona. That means a utility commonwealth that includes a state level that transmits and transforms the grid for distributing energy, and each municipality that is affected that creates its own bond measures to support that same opportunity. When we have such a tremendously growing state, we cannot afford to have $1.6 billion a year just disappear from this realm. And that's literally what's happening year after year after year. Now, this new Prop 421, what's it going to do? Oh gosh, are we giving away all our easements? Are we going to turn into another Nogales, Sonora with all the internet lines and the telephone poles hanging so low that it looks like it's just obscene? Every week we have these TEP poles destroyed because of tornadic events. Over the Board of Supervisors meeting, a neighborhood was asking that they not have this huge monstrosity, 150-foot tower put in place near their neighborhood. And at the same time, this 3 Points area had at least a dozen telephone poles knocked down by these tornadic storms. It's not going to end. Is this the way we support TEP? We can underground it and make it look like the city that we really appreciate and deserve. We can turn Huckleberry Loop into a beautiful scenic corridor that tourists can access with a tram and then the 161 kV, twin kV running all the way around the city, and to make it something unique and pleasurable. And all that money that we're paying TEP to reposition these poles, we're also paying them a 12% dividend on top of that. And it goes on and on and on. Undergrounding is the right thing to do, and we can do it. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, JP. Kimberly Fitch and Lucy Howell.
Good evening, Mayor Romero and members of the Tucson City Council. My name is Kimberly Fitch, and I am honored to be the chair of the Pima County Tucson Women's Commission. I'm joined this evening by fellow Commissioner Lucy Howell. We wanted to come before you tonight for one simple but important reason. We are here to serve you. For nearly 50 years, the Pima County Tucson Women's Commission has been here to serve the women and girls of Pima County, Tucson, and Southern Arizona through advocacy, education, empowerment, and collaboration. And next week, we reach an extraordinary milestone. On August 26th, the Women's Equality Day, we will celebrate our 50th anniversary of the Pima County Tucson Women's Commission in partnership with the Arizona Women's Hall of Fame. As we honor the women who helped build this commission and those who have carried this work forward over 5 decades, we also recognize that our mission is as relevant today as it was 50 years ago. And that is why we are here tonight, not only to celebrate where we have been, but to talk about where we go next.
And 50 years certainly is something to celebrate, but it's also an opportunity to recommit. Mayor and Council, we want you to know that your Tucson Women's Commission is here as a resource for you. So when you hear concerns affecting women and girls in your community, please bring them to us. When there are voices that aren't being heard, please help us bring them to the table. And when there are opportunities to educate, advocate, collaborate, and empower, invite us to be part of the solution. And as we celebrate this milestone on Women's Equality Day, we invite you and our entire community to join us in recognizing not only the women who helped shape Southern Arizona, but also the girls and young women who are the future and will shape the future. So our 50th anniversary isn't the finish line, it's just the starting line, looking back to propel forward. We're here, we're ready to serve, we're ready to listen, and most importantly, we're ready for you guys. And we are looking forward for Mayor Romero and Jen Allen to read the proclamation at our celebration next Wednesday, August 26th at the YWCA from 5:30 to 8 o'clock. So
it's
looking forward to seeing you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your work. TLC.
Hi, everyone. I go by TLC. I get really nervous talking, so please forgive me if I stumble. Happy birthday, Manisha. In early 2025, I knew nothing about surveillance. I helped some friends make a banner that said mass surveillance does not equal safety. And tomorrow will mark 1 year ago that we stood at the U of A campus with our banner and handed out information. At the same time, a female freshman was stabbed at the university library just hundreds of feet from where we stood. In the following weeks and months, I started researching and sending public records requests out. I was denied at first by UA, but ultimately had some success by contacting the Arizona Board of Regents for intervention. For the past year, I've been trying to get copies of contracts, purchase information, and audit logs from the University of Arizona, Marana, DPS, Oro Valley, and many other agencies. Since the beginning of this year, I've been waiting for the city of Tucson to respond. I've been stonewalled. I've contacted the state ombudsman's office with no response. I emailed mayors, council members, board members. I've spoken at many council meetings with no response. I even had to file a lawsuit, still with no response. I have learned about the tech that cops use makes me want to go back to last year when I was naive and wasn't aware of how heavily we are being surveilled. Cops collect location data on us from license plate readers, which are motion-activated cameras that take hundreds of pictures of your car when you drive by. Pan-tilt zoom cameras take videos of every moving object. These cameras are installed throughout Tucson in places like outside the VA, Himmel Park, East Point High School, places of worship, cemeteries, medical facilities, and even outside this building. AI vendors like Flock, Axon, Verkada, Vigilant, and Bosch scan every photo and video and create a massive searchable database based on what can be described in the image, which creates a fingerprint of your car, you as an individual, and who you associate with. All this data and more is uploaded into a server where it can be easily shared with or accessed by any agency across the United States. No formal memorandum of understanding, agreement, or warrant is required. And at the back end are private companies with unfettered access to our locations and biometric data with dates and times. This is dragnet surveillance. This is predictive policing. This is guilty until proven innocent. These million and billion-dollar companies wine and dine our cops and sell products based on lies and inflated facts. And the people who are impacted the most and who are paying for this technology can't even get documentation that's legally required to be disclosed by the Arizona revised statutes. This is no transparency. People across the nation are upset because they're not being heard. We have 2,831 signatures on our change.org petition as of right now. We got 2 while I was sitting here. We live in an oligarchy and none of us have a say in what our government is doing. We cannot compete with the money being thrown around by these companies. These cameras don't make me feel safe and they're not preventing crimes. The vendors are not in the business.
You have to come to a conclusion.
solving
We have a
crime.
couple of
They
additional
make money
speakers
off
that
of
want to
it.
speak. Thank you so much. Gerald Montag. We only have a couple of speakers, so Gerald and then Drew Heaton.
Hello, my name is Gerald Montag. I live in Ward 3. I'm here to speak in opposition to item 7N. I'm not anti-military, quite the opposite. I joined the Marine Corps at age 18. At my 19th birthday in boot camp, my 21st in Ramadi, Iraq. My 22nd, 23rd, 24th, and 25th birthdays were spent in Afghanistan. Like any Marine would say, the greatest honor of my life was to serve alongside my fellow Marines. So don't think for a second that I'm anti-military, even though I do think that we can sometimes be far too eager to use our military. What I am is I'm anti-waste and I'm pro-community. Time and time again, homeless advocates have stood at this very podium and asked for resources, only to be told we don't have the money. My very first mayor and council meeting I attended, 911 dispatcher stood at this podium and begged for help. And you guys told her there was no money. People's cars get damaged on our roads, no money. April of this year, this very council considered closing 2 fire stations because there's no money. 50 pedestrians die every year in our city because we don't have the money for measures to keep them safe. 22 this year. A month ago, the city raised parking meter rates by 50%. A year ago, the city expanded meter hours. The list goes on, raising fees on pawn loans, a measure that impacted the people with the least amount of money to give away. A half-cent sales tax increase was sent to the people in 2025 and rejected because the people sitting in front of me, said it was necessary for services they claimed were essential. So why on earth would our city be giving the land away for free when just a few years ago they purchased it? I understand the federal government wants their land. They're gonna take it. But the federal government that has slashed funds for community aid programs and allocated hundreds of billions of dollars to wars nobody wants can afford to give us a fair price. They even built an extremely well-funded secret police force that is accountable to no one and is active in our community. This isn't about supporting the troops. None of that money Tucson spent on that land will be used to make their lives better. It's about being responsible with our money. Keep Tucson money in Tucson. We cannot afford to keep giving it away. And then I heard about an agreement with Hughes back in 1995. I believe your constituents deserve to know why the details of a 31-year-old agreement with a company that does not exist anymore requires us to give millions of dollars of land away. Thank you.
Alrighty, we have time for one additional speaker, Sean Frazier, I believe.
Hello, Mayor and Council. My name is Drew Heaton, and I have been a resident here in Tucson, Pima County for 29 years. My husband and I pulled into Tucson thinking we would live here for maybe 2 years. Instead, we fell in love with the Sonoran Desert and decided to settle, build a business, and raise our children. My grandchildren live here now, and I'm concerned for their future. I became a reluctant activist 10 years ago, frequently speaking before the Board of Supervisors and occasionally the City Council, where I witnessed elected officials violate the true health, true safety, and true security of the residents here. I continue to watch elected officials violate basic human rights and dignity while professing it to be civilized because they speak in bureaucratic terms and quiet voices. There is nothing civilized about predatory financing, predatory philanthropy, or predatory surveillance. It's just predatory. My absence from the public comment for the most recent past is not due to a lack of interest in the prevailing problems bodies like this create and then solve. I have turned inward to help and support people in our community directly. However, there are times when a reminder is in order. Truly important and accurate information has been presented in these councils regarding the absolute abhorrence and ineffectiveness of mass surveillance. 10 years ago, I suggested to the Board of Supervisors that we are on the cusp of a revolution for human rights in this country, advising they not miss it. I do not know if you share a belief in the great mystery some call God, or if any of you are Christian as I am. C.S. Lewis stated, "God's purposes will be accomplished no matter what you do. But it makes a difference to you whether or not you serve like Judas or like John." But even if you are an atheist, history will have a say, whether you fall on the side of humanity or take the predatory stance. People in your position will be judged either in the next life or this one. Like you, I did swear an oath to protect the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of Arizona against all enemies, foreign and domestic. We are on the cusp of a revolution for human rights in this community. Don't miss it.
Thank you. That was our last speaker. Are you Sean? Okay, you're going to be our last speaker. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Sean Glazer. I've lived in the greater Tucson area my entire life. I'm just here to speak today about the Verkada cameras. I live in Oro Valley, but I was born over at TMC and I've just kind of migrated. I did 8 years in the Marine Corps, and I guess that's a little bit about me. So the Institute for Justice is a public liberty interest law firm, much like the ACLU. And there's a link that I guess anybody can go to. There's just Google the Institute for Justice database of ALPR abuse. Just this year alone, there have been about, I think, 80 or 90 different instances where ALPR data has been used to stalk women, to harass people. I want to read a little bit from that article I mentioned. In Florida, a woman was stalked and pulled over by a sheriff's deputy who saw her at a TV shoot. He used the ALPR database to look up where she was at. He was catcalling her. She was, I think, an extra on Bad Monkey. I think it's an Apple TV show. In Texas, there was a sheriff's deputy who used 83,000 flock cameras to find a woman who had self-administered an abortion. So if you think that you're safe because you choose to be private about your health care, think again. And in Georgia, there was a police chief who tracked his ex-girlfriend and her teenage daughter roughly 600 times. This is a very novel, it's a novel solution to a very age-old problem, which is crime. I'm very pro law enforcement. I think, public safety is a very fundamental right, but I don't think it should come at the cost of our civil liberties. Like Benjamin Franklin said, those who would give up a little temporary safety, a little temporary liberty to purchase temporary safety deserve neither. And again, please just look at canceling the Verkada contract, or look at canceling the Motorola contract, or whatever contracts the city of Tucson has. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Righty, that was our last speaker for item 6. Item 7.
Consent agenda? You can give them to the city clerk staff. Thank you.
Thank you. Reports from the city manager on the consent agenda are received into and made part of the record. Madam Clerk, you are requested to read the consent agenda.
Upon no objection from mayor and council, items I, L, M, and N will be removed from the consent agenda and addressed separately as discussed during today's study session. Item 7A, approval of minutes. Item 7B, elections, amending the Tucson Code sections 1239, 1294, and 1295 relating to updates to align to state election and campaign finance requirements. Item 7C, elections, amendment to campaign finance administration rules and regulations for the public matching funds program for candidates for city office. Item 7D, intergovernmental agreement between Pima County and the city of Tucson for heat relief 2026 heat season. Item 7E, pursuant to Tucson Code section 20-179, which governs one-way streets and alleys, adopting a new designating ordinance to convert 2 portions of Washington Street to one-way eastbound traffic and to provide a complete up-to-date list of all one-way designations. Item 7F, approving the expenditure of budgeted mayor and ward office funds for various programs and projects. Item 7G, Habitat for Humanity Casitas on Park Impact Fees Subsidy Request. Item 7H, intergovernmental agreement to provide facilities and services between the City of Tucson and Department of Arizona Department of Child Safety. Item 7J, second amendment to the lease agreement between Rio Nuevo Multipurpose Facilities District, Tucson Presidio Trust DBA Presidio Museum, and City of Tucson for property located at 133 West Washington Street, 196 North Court Avenue, Tucson, AZ. LF 782, RP 2777, RES 2025 through 262. Item 7K, second amendment to the agreement for operation and maintenance of the Presidio San Agustin del Tucson 133 West Washington Street, 196 North Court Avenue, Tucson, AZ, RP 2777, RES 2026-326.
May I have a motion to approve the items mentioned in the consent agenda?
So moved, Mayor.
There's a motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussions on the items? Okay, we need to go to roll call.
Councilmember Barajas?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Santa Cruz?
Aye.
Councilwoman Lee?
Aye.
Councilmember Cunningham?
Aye.
Councilmember Schubert?
Aye.
Councilmember Dahl?
Aye.
Mayor Romero?
Aye. The items on the consent agenda are approved by a vote of 7-0. And then we are going to take one by one the items considered separately. Can you read the ones that we're considering separately?
Yes. Item I, intergovernmental agreement between the City of Tucson on behalf of the Tucson Police Department and the State of Arizona on behalf of the Arizona Department of Public Safety for the Tucson Police Department's participation in the Arizona Vehicle Theft Task Force.
Alrighty, I believe this was removed by Council Member Schubert. Council Member, you can open the item.
Thanks so much, Madam Mayor and members of the council. I'm pulling this item because the Ward 6 office has gotten a lot of emails and calls around surveillance technology, contracts with tech companies, and data sharing. Since this program is an IGA between TPD and the Arizona Department of Public Safety, I am not clear on the strategies used, if the TPD internal use of technology policies apply here, and what the policies for data sharing and retention are under the AVTTF program. There are too many things our office and my community need to understand about this program for us to responsibly move forward without a deeper dive into how this program has been deployed in Tucson and how it might continue than the consent agenda allows. So we're here to have a full discussion. I'll pull a quote from the AVTTF January 2026 newsletter that shared a story about this program and raised questions about surveillance technology use and data sharing for me. The investigation involved hundreds of hours of surveillance, suspect network identification, vehicle tracking, and evidence collection to document the organization's operations and the movement of stolen vehicles. In further research, I found that the AVTTF task force is part of Arizona's border strike force created by Governor Doug Ducey and reorganized in Operation Desert Guardian by Governor Katie Hobbs, with an explicit mandate to coordinate with DHS and other federal agencies. So I would like more information to ensure transparency on this, especially as we are hearing from constituents about their concerns on surveillance, data collection, and data sharing. The attached materials did not provide enough information for me to feel comfortable passing it on the consent agenda, and I want to ensure accountability to my constituents who are reaching out on this issue. My staff spoke with TPD this morning to address questions regarding this item that arose from constituent concerns about surveillance technology. And I want to say that I really, truly appreciate TPD leadership taking the time to answer those questions with my staff. It is my understanding that additional details are forthcoming. At this time, though, I still have lingering questions and concerns. While I trust that TPD is not collaborating or sharing information with ICE or other federal agencies, once data is shared in statewide and/or national databases, we don't know who can access it. That concerns me. So without more information, I'm a no vote on this tonight. Thank you.
Do you, council member, besides your statement, do you have a particular motion to this?
I do not.
Okay. Councilman Lee?
Is it possible to continue this so that we can have a thorough conversation? Because as someone who also has helped ensure that there's transparency and citizen oversight with the use of technology, can we have more of a robust conversation and revisit?
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, it's perfectly fine to continue this item to a future meeting and request any additional information that you'd like, that you think is helpful.
Well, I would like to move that we continue the item and bring it back in a study session.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
I'll second that. Could we also add that our council offices be briefed on this before we bring it back to mayor and council, so we're better prepared?
Honorable Vice Mayor, that we will provide those briefings in advance.
Yeah, so there's a motion and a second to continue the item with the request to inform the council, the mayor and council offices about this particular item and the details about information sharing, data sharing, and then further information about what the specifics of the program are. I think that it's important to very specifically, when we are hearing information being used inappropriately, that we be as careful and transparent as we possibly can for the community, is very specifically on issues such as this. Mayor and council have been given very explicit direction before on having staff being sensitive to this type of agreements with either the federal government or state government on issues of data sharing. I know that, Roy, you have your mic up, so did you want to add?
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, members of council. We just wanted to get a specific date. When you wanted to bring it back, I think we're talking 60 days. Does that work for the mayor and council?
That's okay. I mean, if that's appropriate for our staff to be able to bring it back. And I think it's important for council offices and the mayor's office to be able to give input and feedback on any time that we're signing an agreement for either a grant or an intergovernmental agreement with another state or federal agency. Alrighty, any further discussion?
Mayor, I would just question. Is this something that the IAPC, the committee, the Citizen Oversight Committee could take a look at this agreement as well?
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, that is one of the primary functions of the IAPC.
Okay, so the citizens of the community can take a look at it. Okay.
All righty. Any other questions, comments? We need to read the resolution number.
Resolution number 24161 relating to Tucson Police Department intergovernmental agreements, approving and authorizing the Chief of Police's execution of an intergovernmental agreement between the City of Tucson on behalf of the Tucson Police Department and the State of Arizona on behalf of the Arizona Department of Public Safety for the Tucson Police Department's continued participation in the Arizona Vehicle Theft Task Force.
Okay.
And
So-
declaring an emergency.
There is a motion and a second.
To postpone for 60 days
And also brief
and to brief council.
mayor and council offices, and then send this to our Citizens Accountability Commission. Okay. Good.
Yes, thank you.
Do we need a roll call?
Yes, please.
Okay. There is a motion and a second. Let's go to roll call.
Councilwoman Lee,
Aye.
Councilmember Dahl,
Aye.
Councilmember Barajas,
Aye.
Councilmember Schubert,
Aye.
Councilmember Cunningham.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Santa Cruz,
Aye.
Mayor Romero.
Aye. Motion passes on a vote of 7-0. Okay. Now we move on to the additional item.
Item L, lease agreement with Tucson School for the Blind LLC, TSFB, to occupy the third floor at 149 North South Avenue, Stone Avenue, consisting of approximately 4,000 rentable square feet. Real estate service request number 2026-278, RP 2200.
Vice Mayor, you're the one that removed this from the consent agenda.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to take an opportunity to uplift the work of Executive Director Kate Skelly and her team and congratulate them on opening of the Tucson School for the Blind. When the Arizona School for the Deaf and Blind announced earlier this year that they would be closing the historic campus, she immediately leapt into action to create a new school right here in our downtown. We know that our blind students would no longer be served for the Arizona School for the Deaf and Blind, and she wanted to make sure that we continue to serve our Tucson residents. And so I'm really proud and appreciative of all their work, and I'm honored to have them continue in Ward 1. So with that, Mayor, I move that we pass and adopt.
There's a
Second.
motion. There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this item? Councilmember Cunningham.
I pulled this one too. I want to thank my team, Chris Desborough and Director Scally, for getting this all done. This was really important. I was actually at the graduation, the last graduation for the Arizona School for the Deaf and Blind this year, and it was a bittersweet moment. So the fact that we get to continue a school for the blind here in Tucson is pretty special. Thanks to Ward 1 for getting it all done.
All righty, any others? Okay, hearing none, let's read the resolution and then roll call.
Ordinance number 12270 relating to real property, authorizing and approving the lease agreement between the Tucson School for the Blind LLC, TSFB, and the City of Tucson to occupy the third floor at 149 North Stone Avenue and declaring an emergency. Vice Mayor Santa Cruz,
Aye.
Councilmember Cunningham,
Aye.
Councilmember Barajas,
Aye.
Councilmember Schubert,
Aye.
Councilmember Dahl,
Aye.
Councilwoman Lee,
Aye.
Mayor Romero.
Aye. Item passes by a vote of 7-0. And the next item?
Item M, purchase of approximately 10 acres of vacant land from Tucson Unified School District for future Ridgeside Park.
Councilmember Cunningham, this is your item.
Our office has referred to this, these 10 acres as the Ridgeside parcel for many years. I'm happy that the City of Tucson will now own it in order to preserve it as open space and a natural resource park. This goes back to the Meritage zoning agreement from about 5 years ago, the Houghton Reserve Agreement, and it was set up with collaboration with all the surrounding neighborhoods. It's an example of how cluster development and use of open space can be preserved. Not only that, the money that we're purchasing with it was paid for by one fraction of the impact fees it generated, and moreover, TUSD is reinvesting those impact fees into school improvements on the east side. So it was a win for everybody. I'm happy that this This purchase will increase the city park total acreage, and my thanks go out to some of the HOAs nearby, Silverado Hills, High 40, Houghton Reserve. All of them had advocacy in the city and parks team who made it all happen. I really want to recognize Natalie Luna Rose, who pretty much helped make this all work. So I'm really excited to have a new natural resource park on the east side. And with that, I move that we pass and adopt resolution 24171.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this? Hearing none, let's go to roll call. Read the resolution and then roll call.
Resolution number 2417 relating to real property authorizing the acquisition of approximately 10 acres of vacant land from Tucson Unified School District for future Ridgeside Park and declaring an emergency. Councilmember Cunningham?
Aye.
Councilmember Dahl?
Aye.
Councilwoman Lee?
Aye.
Councilmember Schubert?
Aye.
Councilmember Barajas?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Santa Cruz?
Aye.
Mayor Romero?
Aye. Item passes by a vote of 7-0. And our next item?
Item N, conveyance of city-owned property to the United States Air Force, RP 3489.
Alrighty, and this item was removed from the consent agenda by Councilmember Schubert.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council, everybody who's here tonight. I wanted to pull this item because I think there is a larger question here that deserves acknowledgement before we treat this simply as a routine property conveyance. Raytheon is enormously important to Tucson's economy. It provides thousands of good-paying jobs, supports families throughout the region, and has been part of Tucson's economic landscape for generations. The people who work there are our constituents, our neighbors, and our family members. Their livelihoods and their economic security matter. And at the same time, I think we should be willing to acknowledge the cognitive dissonance inherent in describing the expansion of the defense industry solely through the language of economic development. What is produced at Raytheon is not an ordinary consumer product. It includes weapons designed for warfare. Those weapons become part of American foreign policy, and some are ultimately used in conflicts where civilians experience tremendous suffering, even in what can be described as acts of defense. Both of those realities can be true at the same time. Tucson can benefit enormously from Raytheon's presence, and we can also wrestle honestly with what it means for our community to benefit economically from the production of weapons. I don't think that acknowledging the contradiction is an indictment of the people who work at Raytheon. Individual workers are no more responsible for American foreign policy than the rest of us. But as elected officials, when we are asked to use the power of local government to facilitate potential expansion, I think we have an obligation to understand exactly what we're approving. This property was acquired years ago specifically to provide a buffer and accommodate the possibility of future expansion. So I also recognize that today's council inherited decisions and commitments made long before this item appeared on our agenda. That is why I want to understand whether the action before us today is simply fulfilling an existing city obligation, or whether Mayor and Council is being asked to make a new discretionary decision to facilitate additional expansion. Because if we believe the consequences of American military power deserve moral scrutiny abroad, then we should at least be willing to apply some of that same scrutiny when the infrastructure supporting that system appears on our own consent agenda at home. That doesn't give us an easy answer. But I don't think our responsibility as elected officials is always to find an easy answer. Sometimes it is simply to see the contradiction clearly, ask what power we actually have in this moment, and make our decision with our eyes open. Madam Mayor and members of the council, I also have some questions that I would want to ask before we go to a vote.
Absolutely. Do you have a motion though? Do you want to start discussion?
I can read the resolution if you'd like.
Or can you read the resolution? And I just want to make sure that we have an opportunity to ask questions. So read the resolution and then we can go to questions.
I have a point of procedure that I'd like to make. Is it possible that we can make a motion and open the debate?
Make the motion to open the debate.
Let's make the motion to open the debate.
Okay.
I don't want to have this discussion.
And that's the procedure that we need to follow. So, but we need to read the resolution number.
Resolution number 24165 relating to real property, approving the conveyance of property to the United States acting through the Department of the Air Force to prevent encroachment upon and encourage further development of the Air Force plant.
Alrighty, so resolution's read, and is there a motion on the floor?
I move that we open the debate for this and discussion for this specific resolution.
Okay, that is not, that's not a motion. So we have two options, right? We can have questions to our city manager and city staff, and then we can go into a motion in a second, and then further discussion. We did this the last time, so let's do it the same again. So we can open up with questions and then move a motion if we need to. So Councilmember Schubert, you want to start with your questions?
Thank you, and sorry to make things confusing. That's okay. What discretion does mayor and council actually have today? Does the 2016 agreement obligate us as the city to convey parcel H upon request? Or do we retain the legal authority to decline? Should I ask all of them first or wait after each one?
No, I think it's important to get an answer.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, Member Schubert, Councilmember Schubert. The agreement contemplates that, and I think it's appropriate to give just a little bit of history. So the 1995 pre-annexation agreement had some relatively neutral language about Hughes and bringing the Hughes property into the city. That was amended in 2009. The 2009 amendment is where we developed the incentive agreement that sort of is the fund for this acquisition that we're talking about today. In that particular amendment, in 2009, the city agreed with Raytheon that they would take the fees from their use taxes and the difference between their use taxes if they weren't annexed and their use taxes as annexed, and put that along with their differential electricity taxes as well into a specific fund to acquire this parcel. That fund is what we used to pay for the parcel when we acquired it. So in any case, I would always say the mayor and council has discretion, but in this particular case, the funds that we used were tied to that parcel. So if we did not provide that parcel to Raytheon, we would have to pay that money back.
So if I can jump in, because I want to follow on that same thread of questioning. So did those funds come from the general fund, or were they produced by Raytheon?
No, they were produced by that differential tax rate that I just described, and those are not general funds. That's a special fund coming out of that annexation agreement that only applies for that particular purchase.
Okay. Go ahead.
And sorry, how much was that?
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, this particular transaction was 6.47 million.
So we might potentially have to give back 6.47 million if we don't approve today.
Correct.
Okay. My second question was answered. What would happen if we didn't approve the conveyance? And is that a sure thing that we'd have to pay that back because of the way the agreement was written concerning the annexation funds?
Sure, Honorable Mayor, Councilmember Schubert, I'm an attorney, so I don't really say sure things.
Yeah, I guess that's
most
true.
likely, yes.
Okay, most likely.
Correct.
Okay, signs point to yes. Okay. Why is the Air Force requesting the property now? Is there a specific expansion contemplated, or is this simply preserving the possibility of a future expansion?
Go ahead. Honorable Mayor, members of the council, we'll maybe tag team this one. This originally was supposed to happen several years ago. It just didn't happen pre-pandemic, and now it has come back. Having said that, there is potential expansion activity for the site that this site would be used for.
If I can jump in just for specifics, the original amendment or the original contemplation of the purchase of this land occurred in 2016. And at the time, it was intended that parcel would become available in 3 years from that point. So it'd be 2019. 2019, it didn't happen, for some obvious reasons. And then as the manager said, now it's become available again.
Thank you. What does potential operational growth mean in practical terms? Does the city know what facilities, production, employment, or activities might eventually occupy this land if we to complete the conveyance and no longer have control over it?
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, we know that any expansion would be related to the business of RTX/Raytheon. I will answer the question you haven't asked yet, but maybe you're planning to ask is this a data center? The answer to that is no, because that's some of the question that's in the community and that I'm aware of, but this would be related to their current types of products and production that they do.
Thank you. A follow-up question about potentially paying back $6.47 million. Would that get paid to Raytheon or would it be returned to the annexation fund?
Honorable Mayor, members of council, Councilmember Schubert, it's a little bit complicated just because it goes into that fund. And so that fund will continue until we complete this transaction. So one of the things to recall is that in the agreement, the acquisition of this property actually terminates that differential tax rate that goes into that fund. So once this transaction is completed, that fund no longer exists, and then we begin to collect our full tax amount from Raytheon at that point.
Right, because there wouldn't be a differential anymore. Okay.
Correct.
City manager kind of answered this already, but is the anticipated growth specifically connected to weapons or missile production? If so, does the city know which programs or production activities? The staff memo doesn't provide that information, and there was an article on the front page of the Daily Star today that references Raytheon receiving a $23 billion contract for Tomahawk missile production from the federal government.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, we do not know as the city what product lines are associated with that expansion.
Thank you. How much property is actually being conveyed and why is ownership being transferred now rather than the city continuing to hold the land as a buffer?
Honorable Mayor, members of council, Councilmember Schubert, my recollection is the amount conveyed is 212 acres. I don't know the timing. My guess is that the timing is just related to the availability of the property.
Is there any monetary consideration or community benefit associated with the transfer? The memo says the property is expected to be conveyed for no additional monetary consideration.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, probably a two-part answer to that. There's no monetary consideration directly because the funds were derived from the recipient in the first place, but an expansion at that site is expected to generate a large number of high-paying jobs in our community.
Thank you. And then
if I can add to that, Councilmember Schubert, Honorable Mayor, members of council, additionally, I would refer back to that differential rate no longer applies. So additional use taxes, additional electricity use taxes as well would occur.
that makes sense. And then my final question, can we attach conditions to our vote today, like environmental protections, workforce commitments, local hiring, apprenticeship opportunities, or other community benefits? And that's my last question.
Honorable members of council, Councilmember Schubert, that would require some negotiation with our partners at Raytheon. My sense is they would deem that as an amendment to the agreement, and then we'd sort of be back in square one with what we're sort of doing here.
Honorable Mayor, and members of the council, if I could add, often the type of conditions you're talking about are associated with a development agreement or a community benefits agreement associated with an incentive being provided by the city. In this case, there is no incentive being provided by the city.
Any other questions? Vice Mayor and then Councilmember Cunningham.
I have a clarifying question for this differential utility tax, this fund. Had they been not putting it in this separate pot of money, would that have been going to the general fund?
Vice Mayor, members of council, Honorable Mayor, if I understand the question correctly, if the fund didn't exist Would the money be coming into the general fund? Yes,
Okay, so,
but it wouldn't be in the city at that point because we haven't annexed it yet.
okay. Does Raytheon pay property taxes?
Honorable Mayor, members of council, Vice Mayor, the property that is contained, there are multiple levels of property that are related to Raytheon. The federal property does not pay property taxes because it's federal property. It's the same with Pima County property. They don't pay us property taxes. There is a small portion of the area, I believe, is still within city control, and that doesn't pay us property taxes because it's ours.
So this section that we would be kind of passing on to them, would that also like not generate property taxes for us?
Once it goes to them and it's owned by a private entity and it's not owned by the federal government, it would pay property taxes.
All right. I'm curious too with these agreements, like this pre-annexation agreement from 2009 and then this conversation again in 2016, if there can be time limits when we go into these agreements, because over time the governing bodies change and their priorities change. Because I would like, we had this discussion last year and we're talking about data centers, like how do we have an economic development strategy that's moving away from like the business of war and extraction and bringing in more life-affirming industries into the city of Tucson. So it would just be helpful that we don't have these long-term agreements that we don't get to really have much of a say.
Honorable Mayor, members of council, Vice Mayor, I agree that these long-term agreements are not as useful as they used to be. And I'm sure our office will take that advice.
Any other questions? Councilmember Cunningham and then Councilmember Dahl.
Just, I guess my question is, how can we keep people more informed? This went on consent, but it probably at least warranted a study session, and I want to know what the thinking was to not go there. It's interesting to me that we're doing this deal, and this is a big deal for Raytheon too, and their representatives haven't come into the chambers to kind of let us know what they're up to, at least to some degree. I mean, I don't want to hear the whole it's a matter of national security thing. I just want them to say, hey, we have a deal for a long time. And in other words, we had to do this whole back and forth tonight. We could have done this back and forth 3 or 4 weeks ago. So we weren't taking people by surprise. So that's kind of my question on how we got to that point. And I'll let you guys answer.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, how we got to this point is we were following a process that was laid out in those prior agreements. And it is a very fair criticism to say that often items that are on consent aren't briefed as thoroughly as others. We are going to make that adjustment moving forward to make sure that nothing hits your agenda that you don't know is coming. And I think I might have sent that in all caps to my team earlier tonight. Having said that, whether Raytheon was present or not tonight, I don't know that they had the full knowledge of the connection between this land purchase and their other activities.
No, and I understand that. I'm just saying that this warranted a discussion 2 weeks ago, at least at the study session table. So we're good. I just wanted to make that point.
Heard.
Councilmember Dahl.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to thank Councilmember Schubert for these in-depth questions. I had a completely different understanding of it reading the materials, and I didn't read carefully enough. This was an annexation agreement, which is a whole different ball of wax. And it seems like we're pretty wedded to what it is, and it actually benefits us, and that we'll be making more money with the taxes that we'll get from Raytheon for this. And we don't have to pay back $6 million. But the points about where we are in the war economy and how Tucson can start encouraging businesses that are more regenerative, sustainable, more part of our values, I think is a discussion that we've had before, and I think we should continue to have it. And I was going to make the same point that my colleague, Councilmember Cunningham made. There's this item and that other item. We need to be briefed. The police didn't brief us on that. And in discussions earlier, we thought the agenda committee is a place to maybe highlight these and then indicate that we need more time for this, if more time is available. I know some things are on a time basis, but appreciate the work that you've done and the careful explanations. And again, especially Councilmember Schubert for digging into it deep. Thank you.
Councilmember Barajas, this is question time still?
Yes.
And then we're going to move into motion and discussion.
I know Raytheon is Tucson's largest employer and has strong connections with the University of Arizona, being the largest leaseholder at the U of A Tech Parks and along with the U of A's College of Engineering. Are there any other workforce development programs connected to Raytheon?
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, in my discussions with Raytheon, which are infrequent, but we have talked about workforce. They are a company that does use union contracts. They are a company that has invested in engineer development at the university, and they are a company that does support the advanced manufacturing of Pima Community College.
Alrighty, so for me, my questions are, where is this piece of the process? So in other words, what's next after this? And where can the mayor and council make sure that we do have any agreements that we can add living wages, union labor, and making sure that that Raytheon is a responsible corporate partner for our adjacent school districts and investments in the community. So where exactly are we in the process? What is this part of the process?
Honorable Mayor, members of council, as I mentioned before, if this acquisition is approved, then the incentive portion of the agreement is now at an end. So we no longer have to provide them additional tax benefits. They no longer, we no longer accrue that amount for those mutual benefits. So it would be we'd sort of be starting that negotiation again, where we discuss with them how they exist in our community and how we can mutually benefit.
Alrighty. I do have additional comments, but I know that if there's no additional questions, then what's the pleasure of the council in terms of direction?
Madam Mayor, I move to approve item 7N.
So there's a motion and a second. Further discussion is at this moment. Councilwoman Lee?
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to make sure I could state for the record, as I did during study session today, that I did also request to pull this item so that I could share that I declared a family conflict of interest, and I have recused myself from any and all conversations around this item, and I will be abstaining from the vote tonight.
Any other additional discussion points? So I too want to reiterate how important it is to give the mayor and council an opportunity to have a study session and further discussion for the community, for the benefit of the community to understand. I know that Councilmember Schubert flagged it because a resident flagged it for us, concerned about the possibility of this being a data center. And so there were some questions asked about data centers and what this could possibly be or mean. But since this land is annexed into the city of Tucson, well, I guess this is the question. Does our land use codes in terms of data centers and large water users apply?
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, yes, this is still land that would be in the city of Tucson, just no longer owned by the city of Tucson. It's zoned I-2, which is an industrial zone, but because of the land use code changes that you adopted at the most recent meeting, we have made it very clear that a data center, hyperscale data center, is not a by right in any zone, including I-2. So if there were a data center associated with this, which there's not, but if there was, it would be subject to your data center land use zoning and code. it would also be subject, and whether it's a data center or not, subject to any requirements of the large water users ordinance, which you've also adopted. So you do have the large water users on the books, and you do have the data center guide rails on the books. So those would apply to this site.
I just wanted to make a note and commentary about the concerns that Councilmember Schubert addressed, as well as Vice Mayor Santa Cruz. I too share in that. Last year was very clear, a year ago, when we had a discussion about Project Blue at our table. We talked about moving in the direction of economic development that matched the policies and priorities of not just mayor and council, but this community. We on the mayor and council have taken a position against many extractive corporations like mining. We took a position against Project Blue. And as a mayor, I also have the responsibility, as Councilmember Schubert mentioned, to balance the needs in terms of job creation in our community. And there is a way to move in the direction of sustainable, long-term, high-wage jobs that are necessary to continue prosperity in our community. We cannot just continue saying no. We've got to be able to find, with the input of the community, the ability to create high-wage, long-term jobs with sustainability in mind. We embarked on that effort with the Bloomberg Harvard Initiative. We held hands in our work with the Urban Institute. We've done stakeholder interviews, input sessions, and worked internally and with other partners in the community to really land at even creating a new office on how we see community and economic impact. And in that office, because of the work and the input from the community, we have our sustainability office as well as our equity office and our economic initiatives office. All of it, even our cultural heritage officer, is part of that office. We need to look at all of it holistically to make sure that we're moving in a direction as a city to both fulfill the priorities of mayor and council in terms of sustainability and equity and prosperity in our community, as well as our responsibility to worry about the economic mobility of our residents. And so it feels conflicting for me to have this in front of us because of the what it means to expand Raytheon. These are weapons of war. And again, it doesn't mean that the employees that work for Raytheon are to be blamed. And I'm pretty sure that there are people out there in our community that are being trained at Pima right now, that are going through an apprenticeship program with a machinist, that are looking forward to an opportunity at a better life through a job that pays them well. So we are going to continue working on economic development strategy that connects all of the priorities that we have, and that this has been said, is the long-term annexation agreement that the city of Tucson at that time in 1995 came to agreement with. And so there's not a lot of possibilities of changing an agreement that is a legally binding agreement. So I just wanted to make sure that I said that, because it's not the end in terms of how we approach job creation and economic opportunity in our city. So with that, do we need to go to roll call? Because there is a motion and there's a second. Do we have we read a resolution? Okay.
Councilmember Cunningham,
Aye.
Councilmember Barajas,
Aye.
Councilmember Dahl,
Aye.
Councilwoman Lee recused,
Recused.
Councilmember Schubert,
Nay.
Vice Mayor Santa Cruz,
Nay.
Mayor Romero,
Aye. The item on the consent agenda is approved by a vote of 4-2 with 1 abstention. Right?
one recusal.
Okay. You can't abstain. Okay, 1 recusal. All righty, thank you. Thank you. Anything else? Okay. All righty, so we move on to item 8.
Item 8, public hearing, SD 0526000071, TC RES 042601972330 South 3rd Avenue, proposed demolition of historic residential garage with attached carport and construction of new accessory structure, Armory Park, Historic Preservation Zone.
City Manager's Communication number 232 dated August 18th is received into and made part of the record. This is a time and place legally advertised for a public hearing to obtain approval to demolish a historic residential garage with attached carport located at the rear of the lot at 3030 South 3rd Avenue for the purposes of constructing a new accessory structure with attached carport at the rear of the lot. This public hearing is scheduled to last for no more than an hour, and speakers are limited to 5-minute presentations. Are there any requests to speak?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, if there's no request to speak, is there anyone in the audience wishing to be heard on this item? Seeing none,
I move we close the public hearing.
Second.
There is a motion to move the public hearing in a second. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any against? Motion carries. Madam Clerk, you are requested to read Resolution 24163 by number and title only.
Resolution number 24163 relating to planning and zoning, approving the application for demolition of a historic contributing structure and the proposed replacement plan for a new accessory dwelling structure and attached carport at 330 South 3rd Avenue, Historic Preservation Zone, HPZ SD 0526000071, TC RES 0426019772, and setting an effective date.
What is the council's pleasure?
Madam Mayor, I move that we adopt resolution number 24163, allowing the demolition and replacement plans to move forward for 330 North 3rd Avenue. And for
Second.
PDSD to issue approval letters for the proposed work that includes the conditions recommended by the advisory groups. Sorry.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this? Hearing none, let's go to roll call.
Councilmember Schubert,
Aye.
Councilmember Dahl,
Aye.
Councilwoman Lee,
Aye.
Councilmember Barajas,
Aye.
Councilmember Cunningham,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Santa Cruz,
Aye.
Mayor Romero,
Aye. Resolution 24163 passes by a vote of 7-0. Item 9.
Public hearing, SD 1125000180, TC RES 0925045525, 424 East 16th Street, demolition of historical residential garage and construction of new accessory dwelling, Armory Park Historic Preservation Zone.
City Manager's Communication number 234 dated August 18th is received into and made part of the record. This is the time and place legally advertised for a public hearing to obtain approval post hoc to demolish an original residential garage carport at 424 East 16th Street and replace it with a new accessory building constructed in 2023. This public hearing is scheduled to last for no more than an hour. Speakers are limited to 5-minute presentations. Are there any requests to speak on this item?
No, Your Honor.
Alrighty, may I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved, Your Honor.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of closing the public hearing signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any against? Motion passes. Madam Clerk, you are requested to read Resolution 24164 by number and title only.
Resolution number 24164 relating to planning and zoning, approving the application for demolition of a historic contributing structure and the proposed replacement plan for a new accessory dwelling structure at 424 East 16th Street Historic Preservation Zone, SD 11250018 TC RES 0925045525, and setting an effective date.
What is the council's pleasure?
Madam Mayor, I move that we approve resolution number 24164, allowing the demolition and replacement plans to move forward for 424 East 16th Street and for PDSD to issue approval letters for the proposed work that includes the conditions recommended by the advisory groups.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, let's go to roll call.
Councilmember Schubert?
Aye.
Councilwoman Lee?
Aye.
Councilmember Cunningham?
Aye.
Councilmember Dahl?
Aye.
Councilmember Barajas?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Santa Cruz?
Aye.
Mayor Romero?
Aye. Resolution 24164 passes by a vote of 7-0. Item 10.
Rezoning, City Manager's Report, TEP ENT 0326000005, Monsoon Land Holdings in North Pantano Road, C1 to C2.
City Manager's Communication number 228 dated August 18th is received into and made part of the record. This is a request to rezone 1.11 acre parcel from C1 to C2 for the expanded development of an existing legal non-conforming automotive major service and repair facility. The rezoning will bring the site into compliance with the applicable Unified Development Code standards. The zoning examiner recommends authorization of zoning subject to certain conditions. Is the applicant or representative of the applicant present?
Mayor, members of the council, Carrie Sylvan with Lazarus and Sylvan representing the property owner, and Mr. Becker is here with us as well. His wife, Lisa Becker, couldn't be here because their daughter was playing in a volleyball tournament tonight and won both their games. So
Is the
congratulations.
applicant agreeable to the proposed requirements?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you so much, Carrie. What is the council pleasure on this item?
Your Honor, believe it or not, we are minusing a car wash. Really great work by everybody involved. This actually moves a outdoor car service facility to an indoor car service facility. It expands the number of services involved. There's only 3 parcels attached. I mean, there's a really good amount of setback, and the business owner is a very responsible business owner to the east side. So with that, I move the item. Second.
All righty, is there a second to the motion? All right.
Second.
So any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any against? Motion carries. Item 11.
Adjournment.
Council will stand adjourned. The next regularly scheduled meeting will be on Wednesday, September 9th at or after 5:30 p.m. Have a wonderful rest of your week, everyone.
Where's Joe, State Park Superintendent, lifeguard, Santa Cruz? Joe, thank you very much. That's dinner hour, right?
Correct.
Good job, Joe. And Mike McAnamy, State Park Superintendent, Santa Cruz.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Well, we're honored to have all of you. And again, what you did was incredible, and everybody saw it. And you'd watch it over and over. I know when I first saw it, I said, roll that back. I want to see that again. Is that really happening? And both of you people have to be very proud. The whole group is proud. And your father is the happiest man in the world, you know that? Because I asked him a question. I said, so if that didn't happen, your life would be ruined. And you said, it would be a whole different life, right?
Absolutely.